Jango Fett, as we all know well, was the template for the Grand Army of the Republic, the genetic ancestor of millions of clone troopers. But what if he wasn't? There were many other choices for the template that Dooku and the Kaminoans considered, ranging from other bounty hunters to other species entirely. In this video, we'll be taking a look at these other potential templates and why Jango was eventually chosen over all of them. And just quickly before we get into the video, guys, I have a quick word from our sponsor.
Every dragon has a weak spot. If I can hit it just right.
See, now that just proves there's no I in team, especially against the massive dragon like that one. Forget everything you think you know about mobile games because one of the most ambitious RPG projects of 2019 has just been released. Introducing Raid: Shadow Legends, and not only is this game totally free, but it has an amazing storyline, awesome 3D graphics, and hundreds of champions to collect and customize. Just look at how crazy the level of detail is on these champions. Raid's special launch tournament is happening right now and it's getting real big real fast. So go to the description below and download Raid only through my link to get 50,000 silver immediately. And here's the coolest part. You'll also automatically be entered into their special launch tournament where you can compete with me and other players for crazy in-game prizes and physical prize packs. So what are you waiting for? Go download it now. Anyways guys, let's get back into the video. When it comes down to it, Jango Fett was indeed the right man for the job, as a Grand Army rallying cry famously claimed. A variety of factors made him the best candidate out of all the ones that the Kaminoans had been looking at. This spectrum of candidates was rather wide, ranging at times from other humans to other species entirely. While the decision was made rather early in the process to have a human template for reasons we're about to discuss, the pool of potential human templates included several other highly skilled bounty hunters. Before we dive into what made Jango so special, let's address those alternatives. Back when Darth Plagueis was experimenting with the creation of clone armies, other species were considered for the role of template, most notably the Yinchori. The Yinchori were a warlike reptilian species with one particularly notable trait. They all had an innate level of force resistance. Plagueis wanted to create a Yinchori clone army that would be immune to the mind-affecting abilities of the Jedi, so as to make them more useful for the eventual execution of Order 66. There were concerns about this from the Kaminoans from the start, most notably because it would be near impossible to breed obedience into these clones. Plagueis initially attempted to press on anyway, but attempts to clone the Yinchori template had ultimately failed, and the Sith settled on using an army of humans per the suggestions of the Kaminoans. A grand army of Yinchori would have definitely been interesting, but it ultimately would have been counterproductive for the Sith. The Yinchori were hard to control, and in the fury of battle, it's likely they would have incurred many needless civilian deaths on countless worlds over the course of the war. They would have conquered the CIS by means of razing it to the ground planet by planet, which would have not aroused any sympathies for the Empire. Furthermore, the non-human nature of the Yinchori likely would have been a big problem for the concept of a high human culture, since, like our friends over at Generation Tech, Palpatine was a bit of a xenophobe. The Grand Army was eventually decided to be an army of humans primarily because of the adaptability of humanity. Humans are among the most adaptable and resilient species in the galaxy, considered the best for use as an army by the Kaminoans. Humans, more so than any other species, could range widely from extreme altruism to extreme callousness. One of the reasons Jango Fett was chosen above other humans was because he encompassed this entire spectrum. As the Kaminoans observed, on multiple occasions he would return to Kamino after killing men for credits, wash the blood out of his starship's hold, and an hour later be gently talking and playing with young Boba. The biggest reason that human clones were effective, however, was a genetic trait that the Kaminoans called Factor H. Human hormones, according to Kaminoan research, made humans incredibly adaptive and effective when working or fighting in groups. This is why clones were allowed to be able to reproduce for the record. It was feared that sterile clones would lack Factor H and would be less effective as a result. The threat of this was mitigated by the encouragement of close companionship within clone units and attempts to limit contact between clones and civilians. But there was still the matter of which human would be given the role of clone template. Count Dooku, who had by this point taken over the project, recruited several of the galaxy's deadliest mercenaries as part of a contest to decide this. As we know, Jango Fett eventually won, and we'll get to that shortly, but there was another major contender that had a solid chance of winning. That contender was Montrose, another Mandalorian and an old rival of Jango Fett's. Montross was originally the second in command of Jaster Miriel, the Mandalorian leader that recruited Jango Fett into the ranks of the Mandoe. Montross was exiled from the true Mandalorians, however, when he left Miriel to die during a battle with the Death Watch, resulting in Jango's ascension to command of the Mandalorians. This sparked a long-time rivalry between the two that lasted for decades, and it only intensified when both of them became bounty hunters. Montross was notoriously brutal. Unlike Jango, he had no honor or empathy whatsoever, killing simply out of greed and bloodlust. Had he become the clone template, his genome would have had to be heavily modified so that the clones would be obedient, and even then, they would have been much more savage than the Fett clones ended up being. A clone army bred from Montross may well have worked better to fill the ranks of the Imperial Stormtrooper Corps, but it might have been a disadvantage for the Republic for the same reasons that the Inchori would have been. Jango Fett ultimately was the best choice for the clone template for a variety of reasons. As we said before, he was simultaneously both empathetic and callous, which allowed the clones to have both a sense of humanity and to be able to kill enemies without moral complications. There was also the matter of his skill. As proven by Tyrannus' contest, Jango Fett was the most skilled bounty hunter in the galaxy, and this meant that these skills could, in theory, be replicated with some training in clones. Clones of Fett would all be capable of similar feats, and with practice, they would become the most skilled soldiers in the galaxy. Fett was also highly intelligent, a trait that he passed on to many of his clones. He was an incredibly competent tactician, and he had an encyclopedic knowledge of weapons and fighting tactics, which again meant that these traits could be trained into clones. This gave Fett's clones a significant advantage over most others as well. Standard Arcanian methods of cloning often resulted in clones with severe mental deficiencies, a problem that most factions that used clone armies struggled to overcome. Above all, however, Fett was good for the job because he was rather sociopathic. He was able to kill and without hesitation, a trait that a soldier generally needs to have. However, he was not honorless as Montross was. He had a complex moral code that he held to fervently and taught his son Boba to follow it from an early age. This was a rare combination of traits that was perfect for the soldiers of the Grand Army of the Republic, and combined with Fett's other traits, this made Jango Fett the perfect clone template. So guys, that was our analysis of why Jango Fett was chosen to become the Grand Army of the Republic, and what would have happened if he wasn't. And as per usual guys, I want to know what you think. Would you prefer to see a Yanchori clone army, or even an army of Montross? Feel free to post your thoughts in the comments section below. And you guys know the drill, just before you go, make sure you check out the wider Geetsly's community on Discord and on our Geetsly's gaming network, where you can join us on Roblox and Gary's mod for a lot of fun. And just quickly, I want to thank all my patrons who consistently support this channel and improve the quality and quantity of videos produced, and I hope you've been able to see that the past months. They really have been helping, and a massive shout out to all of them, especially Video Game Junkie for the $50 pledged. Anyways guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.